And what we talk today is of strategic autonomy itself. It is an you can say outcome of non-aligned movement, where the country like India wants to maintain autonomy of its choices. The second aspect is that of course, we are here to strengthen the movement of non-aligned NAM. And one of the biggest example of this is the decision of Government of India to open 21 new embassies across the world. And out of these 21, 18 are in Africa and 3 are in Latin America and Caribbean. So this means that we want to increase our presence, physical presence in these countries, uh, which are part of the non-aligned movement. So, uh, with these two broad arguments, we should say that the non-aligned movement is still live. It is a force, and a country like India is taking leadership in further strengthening it. And the policy of strategic autonomy is a reorientation of the of non-aligned movement. I think there was a question on India's foreign policy objectives. So, in the present context, there are four important aspects of foreign policy which we are pursuing. So, the first one is as neighborhood first. This means that policies which we are pursuing domestically has to also have impact on our neighboring countries, and India should grow along with its neighbor. India should establish durable, you can say, mechanisms with its neighboring countries, so that even though there are ups and downs in our relationship, these durable mechanisms should act a safety valve, and it can give us a cushion so that these evils can easily be overcome. Uh, the primary objective of neighborhood first policy is that the neighborhood should become a source of strength for India. It should become a point of unity for us. And with that objective, whatsoever connectivity projects we have discussed today in the interview, somebody was talking about connectivity with Nepal, somebody was talking about Bangladesh and Myanmar. These are those hard infrastructures which we are building. At the same time, if you see, like we have SARC food bank, we have SARC disaster management center, we have mechanisms for you can say meteorological database exchange. We have mechanisms for transmission of electricity between SARC countries, excluding Pakistan, and to some extent with Afghanistan, because with which we have no direct connectivity issues, connectivity infrastructure. These kind of mechanisms are with Sri Lanka, with Myanmar, with Bangladesh, with Nepal. So energy is one of the important areas of cooperation in our neighborhood first policy. The second one is connectivity through many means. And third one is SARC disaster management, because once the disaster strikes, the country which has highest spare capacity will have the biggest advantage for response. So, being a bigger country, being the country which is central to its neighborhood, we have to take those kind of bigger responsibilities. And food security is an important element. So we have established mechanisms through SARC Food Bank, which was established some 5 6 years back, on how to respond to any demands for food grains to overcome the challenges in this region. The next important strategy which we follow is called as our global strategy, in which we want to create a country specific approach rather than the region specific approach. So, like if I have to deal with Myanmar, I will deal with Myanmar in the context of India Myanmar rather than looking it as an ASEAN country or a country which is next to Bangladesh. If I have to deal with America, Russia, the effort is how to ensure that India-Russia relationship does not spill over on India-America relationship. If I am dealing with Israel, I have to make sure that India-Israel relationship is not impacting our relationship with Gulf countries or other Muslim countries of the world. So this particular strategy is paying rich dividends for a country like India, and it is giving us a much bigger scope to maneuver our national interests. Coming to the multilateral diplomacy, so India is working towards an approach which is called as reformed multilateralism. There might be variation in our approach where somebody will say that the multilateralism has paid rich dividends or it has not been proven useful for countries like India. But nevertheless, even though we have not been benefited much from the multilateralism, it does not mean the relevance of multilateralism or these institutions has come down. So we want that these institutions should be strengthened, but at the same time, their agenda should be reformed to reflect the current realities of the world. May it be the Security Council, may it be the voting patterns and allocation of resources through World Bank and ADB or any other organization. So, through reformed multilateralism, India is trying to mainstream the interest of the developing countries in such a way that the voice of developing countries gets due recognition appreciated by all stakeholders. When it comes to engagement with major powers, there also, the way the India's situation and its position has grown, our interest has also grown in all dimensions. So, many times you will find that approach which we are taking with one country may not be like with the other country. So that's why we have our approach is to create specific contours for relationship with each country and try to increase our diplomatic space in so if like one of the biggest examples which we see is the import of weapons. So Russia is a defense partner. Now is a partner for us for purchase of Rafale fighter jets, and we are also buying equipments from countries like America and Israel. So we are expanding our number of times you will find that one country buy that I buy the weapons from the other country. We are among those few countries in the world who have managed to expand the scope of our engagement with the major powers successfully without much coercion. Coming to the issue of Pakistan and China, so these are two, I think, very evolving relationship of relationship, but the action lies with Pakistan to act. So we are open for all kind of discussions, but this discussion should take the framework of Shimla Agreement, and Pakistan to give up the threats of terrorism and guerrilla warfare missiles on India. Only these talks can take. Second thing, we have our own bottom lines. Those bottom lines primarily relates with the state of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh. So these are the areas which Pakistan has to And it is, of course, in interest of India to have a good relationship with Pakistan, but majority, but primarily the action lies with Pakistan. When it comes to China, again, we have quite a number of forums with which on which we are partners with China. So, if I have to define relationship with China, I would say that it is complicated, but at the same time, it is also multifaceted. We are equal partners in New Development Bank. We are the second largest partner in Asian Infrastructure Bank based out of Beijing. China has 26% stakes and India has, I think, 11% stakes. We are the largest recipient of assistance from these two banks based on merits, not based on any kind of favors to India. We are partnered with China in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And China is also a member of Group of 77, which means the non-aligned movement countries. But at the same time, we have certain set of differences which relates to border issues and which also goes into other areas like trade issues are also there. Uh, so I think that we should not try to link Taiwan and Tibet as one of the strategies to China because these two are things should remain separate, and China relation has to go in a way that it does not harm each other, and we should respect each other's priorities and decision making without trying to harm each other's interest. So this is the approach which India is taking, and there are conflicts. So peaceful resolution of these conflicts should be the preferred option. However, we should also remain prepared to protect our national interest through other means if China prefers to take an armed conflict with India. So that's why, in order to strengthen our position, we are partnering with many countries, like-minded countries. And when we are talking about China, the question of Quads comes. So the Quad is not against China. This is the stated foreign policy of India, and Quad is not Asian NATO. That is also the stated policy which has been clarified multiple times. So this has to be made clear, and one of the objectives of Quad is to collaborate, cooperate, and take advantage of the strength of the partners. May it be security, may it be safety of the sea lanes, which are crucial for maintaining trade and maintaining the supply chain. There was another question that can we follow the developmental model of East Asian tigers? So the developmental model of East Asian tigers started with opening of China, where they integrated themselves with the growth of China. So you will find that the way China has grown in double digits, the South Asian countries, the East Asian countries have also grown. And mm, in supply chain perspective, they interlinked with themselves with China. So those days are now over, and the new opportunities has emerged for country like India, which is highly diverse and having its own set of opportunities and challenges, having its own strengths and weaknesses. We are required to devise an India-centric policy, the policy which is dependent on our own resources, dependent on our own capabilities. So that is a strategy which we should adopt. But yes, if there are some good examples from Southeast Asian countries' growth story, it should certainly be implemented. And one of those things like if I talk about Vietnam, if I talk about Malaysia, so Malaysia growth story started with growth of infrastructure. So that can be implemented in some way. Vietnam growth story is primarily linked with shift of industries from China to Vietnam, and then they becoming an important export centers. So that is another good story which can be implemented in India, or which can be piloted in India. However, given the geography, given the challenges, and given the opportunities of India, we are required to create our own growth story. I think I have covered most of the issues which were raised there. If I missed out anything, please let me.
Sir, just one last question that when we are asked to rank some countries based upon importance, do we really need to rank like 1, 2, 3, or how do we reply such questions,
Yeah,
sir?
so I think this is a quick question where somebody is asking that you tell who is your best friend. So we should not fall in trap of those type of questions. The best answer to give is that neighborhood is our first priority, and the second one is I mean we should have an Africa focused policy. And I gave you example that out of 21 new offices which we are opening, 18 are in Africa. And the third one is engaging with major powers. So we have started. I mean, major powers does not mean only the P5 countries, but Germany is also a major power, and we also consider Japan and Australia as major powers. So having a separate set of relationship with them where the spillover effect can be minimized, that is one of the most important aspects. Uh, this would be a much better answer rather than directly telling that these are the countries which are, in terms of priority, important to us.
And sir, in the neighborhood first question, last year it was like given some 3 to 4 neighboring countries, and in that he was asked to rank these 4 to 5 countries based upon importance.
Oh,
So,
so if you are forced to do so, if you are forced to do so, then you have to say that although I mean it is a highly complex subject matter, and the relationship keeps on changing. But if I'm asked to do so, then this is my priority list. So, what are the name of countries?
sir, it was Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal and Bhutan.
Okay. So, there is a tradition to respond to this. Whenever a prime minister assumes office in India, his first foreign visit is always Bhutan, followed by visit to Nepal. Then comes Bangladesh, and then comes Pakistan. So you can say that although there is no stated policy, but if we see the trend, then the first foreign visit of prime minister usually takes place to Bhutan, followed by visit to Nepal, and and then to other neighboring countries. So of course, if I have to choose between Bangladesh and Pakistan, Bangladesh is far more important, and we are having a much broad-based relationship with this country than with Pakistan. So this is how you can somehow save your bank.
Yes. Thank you.
Hello,
Yeah. Yes,
sir.
please.
I have one question.
Uh-huh.
Sir, should India consider talking directly with Taliban, considering that Taliban is a terrorist group and India has stopped its diplomatic relation with Pakistan on because it supports terror organizations?
So again, this is a very difficult question for a civil services interview candidate to respond. So there is something which is called as uh, realism, theory of realism. You have to be realistic. So you will find that all great powers follow the philosophy of realism, and they act according to the needs of their national priorities. And the first objective is to protect the national interest. And if return of Taliban is a reality, then India has no other choice than to talk to Afghanistan, to the government which is going to come in power. Uh, why this is important? Because if we do not have any kind of relationship with a close neighbor, the government of the close neighbor, then at some point of time you will realize that there is something which we are missing out, and this is giving strength to the adversaries of India. The two or three countries who are going to have very strong relations with any government which comes up in Afghanistan is, of course, Pakistan, China,
Yes, sir.
and Iran.
Yes, sir.
So, out of these three countries, at least we have to have a robust strategy against Pakistan and China, because they have a history, they have a trend of acting against our interest. So, rather than
Yes, sir.
giving this leverage to these two countries, it is always better for India to have some sort of relationship with Afghanistan with pure objective of protecting its national interest, with a commitment that any government which comes in Afghanistan should follow a people-centric policy and should run with the confidence of the people of Afghanistan.
Sure, sir.
So, one terminology which is frequently used is that we support Afghan-led and
Yes, sir.
Afghan-owned process.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, if any government which comes, which is led by Afghanistani, which is owned by Afghanistani, and which is driven by Afghanistani, then it should be considered as a legitimate government.
Sure,
But
sir.
if the agenda of Afghanistan or Taliban is led by somebody else, then uh, there are certain doubts, there are certain risks, and that needs to be calibrated.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, if you allow, I would answer one question which was asked to
Yeah,
me,
why
sir.
not? Why not? Please,
I
please.
thank you so much, sir. Kaushal, I think you asked the question how to tackle LWE in South Bihar states like Gaya. उनको कैसे टैकल करना है, मैं आपको एक तेलंगाना मॉडल का एग्जांपल दूंगी. तेलंगाना में क्या करते हैं, एक टू प्रॉन्ग अप्रोच है. पहला है कि कनेक्टिंग विद द पीपल, एंड सेकंड है जो गवर्नमेंट अपने लेवल पे करता है, गवर्नमेंट अपने लेवल पे करती है. कनेक्टिंग विद द पीपल में आपको गुडविल कल्टीवेट करना लोगों के साथ बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. वो गुडविल आप क्रिएट करेंगे तो उससे ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट जो होता है वो ब्रिज होता है. तो आपको ये ध्यान देना है कि जितनी भी पॉलिसीज है गवर्नमेंट की, उनके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के टाइम पे एक पार्टिसिपेटिव अप्रोच हो, जहां पे लोगों को इन्वॉल्व फील हो, उन्हें ऐसा ना लगे ना कि उनके ऊपर कुछ थोपा जा रहा है, कुछ इम्पोज किया जा रहा है. तो पॉलिसी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में पार्टिसिपेटिव अप्रोच रहना वो बहुत जरूरी होता है. एंड जो गवर्नमेंट अपने हिसाब से कर रही है वो भी थ्री मेन स्टेप्स है. पहला, गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया कि दे डेवलप्ड इंटेलिजेंस डेवलपमेंट पे बहुत ज्यादा फोकस हुआ. और मतलब इस लेवल का कि एक प्रॉपर इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम होना, जितना अंदर तक उनकी बॉडी में इन्फिल्ट्रेशन हो सकता है और जितना ज्यादा हर विलेजेस से इंफॉर्मेशन निकल के आ सकता है कि इनका मूवमेंट कब हो रहा है, कौन इनके बड़े लीडर्स हैं, इनके लीडर्स के बीच में अंदर में क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, उसको आप कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं. बिकॉज आपको समझना पड़ेगा कि नक्सलिज्म जो एक इशू है वो उसको अंदर से खत्म करने की जरूरत है. सिर्फ उनके लीडर्स को आप एक लीडर हटाएंगे दूसरा लीडर आ जाएगा. तो उसको आपको देखना है कि एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आप उसको कमजोर कैसे बना सकते हैं. तो उसमें इन्फॉर्मर्स का बहुत बड़ा काम होता है, इंटेलिजेंस का। वो आपको बताएंगे कि हाँ ये फलाना दलम मेंबर है, ये फलाना मेंबर है, ये फाइनेंशियल मजबूरी के कारण ये इसमें ज्वाइन कर रखा है। तो यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं कि फिर वैसे लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई करके उनको इन्फॉर्मर्स, इनफैक्ट नॉट जस्ट तेलंगाना, यही चीज मध्य प्रदेश में भी किया जा रहा है। वैसे लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, इन्फॉर्मर्स बनाते हैं, उनको इंसेंटिव देते हैं कि भाई आप हमारे साथ काम करो, आपके बच्चों की एडुकेशन का ध्यान दिया जाएगा, सब चीज का ध्यान दिया जाएगा। तो कैरेट एंड स्टिक अप्रोच है ना, आप इंसेंटिव भी दे रहे हो और फिर जो स्टिक होता है यहाँ पे उसके लिए है ग्रेहाउंड्स। सो ग्रेहाउंड्स तेलंगाना की एक बहुत ही एलीट असॉल्ट यूनिट है। उनका काम है टू चेज एंड एलिमिनेट। ठीक है, तो एक साइड पे गवर्नमेंट अपनी इंटेलिजेंस बना रही है, इंफॉर्मेशन ले रही है, उस इंफॉर्मेशन को एक्शनेबल बना के उस पे फिर ऑपरेशंस कंडक्ट करते हैं, उनको एलिमिनेट करते हैं। एंड सेकंड होता है सरेंडर एंड रिहैबिलिटेशन पॉलिसी। तो गवर्नमेंट दोनों हाथ आगे बढ़ा रही है कि आप सरेंडर करो तो आपको रिहैबिलिटेशन के लिए बहुत इंसेंटिव्स हैं। आपको एजुकेशनल लोन मिलते हैं, स्कूल के लोन्स मिलते हैं, बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने के लिए लोन भी मिलते हैं, प्लस मेंटरशिप भी मिलती है। किसी किसी जो बड़े मेंबर्स होते हैं उनको लैंड भी मिलता है, एग्रीकल्चर में उनको हेल्प चाहिए होता है। एंड ये बिल्कुल लोकल लेवल पे काम होता है। जो लोकल पुलिस स्टेशन होते हैं वो इन चीजों का ध्यान रखने लगते हैं, वो फॉलो अप करने लगते हैं। तो सरेंडर बहुत ज्यादा अट्रैक्टिव बनाया गया है, लेकिन साइमल्टेनियसली गवर्नमेंट का ये बहुत क्लियर है कि जो सरेंडर नहीं करेगा वो एलिमिनेट होगा। तो उसके लिए ग्रेहाउंड्स बहुत ही ज्यादा एलीट असॉल्ट यूनिट है। मतलब उनकी ट्रेनिंग, बिकॉज मैंने खुद की है तो मुझे पता है कि बहुत ही दे जस्ट चेज एंड किल, वेरी क्लियर। तो यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट की प्रायोरिटी में कोई डाउट नहीं है ना। आप अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हो, सरेंडर करा रहे हो, सेकंड जो नहीं अट्रैक्ट हो रहा है आप एलिमिनेट कर रहे हो। एंड इंटेलिजेंस पे बहुत ज्यादा फोकस करना। सेकंड आपने पूछा इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ ऑफ बिहार आफ्टर डिवीजन। एक तो आप प्लीज चेक करना कि स्टेटिस्टिकली इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ कितना इंप्रूव हुआ था, बिकॉज मुझे उसमें थोड़ा डाउट है। बिकॉज ऑलरेडी हम काफी नेगेटिव पोजिशन पे थे, तो हमें काफी टाइम लगा था एक्चुअली ग्रोथ होने में, बिकॉज वो नेगेटिव को ही काफी ब्रिज करना पड़ा था। तो वो आप स्टेटिस्टिक चेक कर लेना। बट गवर्नमेंट चेंज इज एक्चुअली अ वेरी वैलिड आंसर, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट ने आके चीजों को प्रायोरिटाइज किया कि सबसे पहले लो हैंगिंग फ्रूट्स क्या है, हम ऐसा क्या काम करेंगे जिससे लोगों को दिखे कि डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है ना। ऐसा नहीं कि किसी ऐसी चीज में गवर्नमेंट ने सारे रिसोर्सेज लगा दिए जहां पे बहुत टाइम के बाद पता चलेगा। तो जो इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें थी जैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे फोकस करना, रोड्स का डेवलपमेंट बहुत जल्दी शुरू हुआ। एंड पहले पटना से स्टार्ट हुआ, फिर धीरे धीरे बाकी नेबरिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में शुरू हुआ। तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का फिर क्या रोल आता है इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट में, उसको आप अपने आंसर में एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं। एक सड़क बनने से कितना ज्यादा आसपास इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ होता है, वो कैसे कैटलिस्ट काम करता है। उसके बाद जितना भी गवर्नमेंट ने सोशल इश्यूज में इन्वेस्ट किया है, सोशल इशू में इन्वेस्टमेंट के कारण वो क्या होता है ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम वो ट्रांसलेट करता है इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में। विमेन को जितना एम्पावर करेंगे तो 5-6 साल के बाद वही विमेन इतनी एलिजिबल हो जाएंगी कि वो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे सकें, है ना। तो ये जो ट्रांसलेशन है सोशल इन्वेस्टमेंट का इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में, आप इसको बोल सकते हैं।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. That is all from my side, sir.
Riti ma'am, I have a question for you.
हाँ, Rashmi, please.
Ma'am, you asked me how would I bridge the gap between realism and optimism. Ma'am, was that answer satisfactory?
See, you can add a bit more because क्या होता है लीडरशिप में कुछ लीडर्स आएंगे उनका बहुत एकदम नॉट इवन ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, वो बहुत रोमांटिसाइज कर देते हैं कि ऐसा गोल्स करेंगे, इतना अचीव करेंगे। और रियलिटी का थोड़ा उनका टनल विजन हो जाता है, वो रियलिटी उतना ध्यान नहीं दे पाते हैं बिकॉज वो उनको वापस खींच रहा होता है। तो एक लीडर क्या करता है कि ही इज ऑलवेज वेरी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, है ना, of whatever goals which they decide based on reality, है ना। जो आपके गोल्स होंगे, जैसा आपने सही बोला, वो डेटा ड्रिवन, उसके बेसिस पे आपने अपना गोल बना लिया तो आपका रियलिटी चेक हो गया। बट देन यू हैव टू बी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक अबाउट इट, है ना। एंड नॉट जस्ट यू, आपको अपने पूरे वर्क ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जो आपके मेंबर्स हैं उनको बहुत ज्यादा इनकरेज करके रखना है, बिकॉज वो काफी बार डाउन होंगे रियलिटी को देख देख के, वो काफी ज्यादा उनका मोरल डाउन होगा, उसको आपको इनकरेज करना है। So this is how you will use optimism in yourself also and cultivate it throughout the work culture also.
Oh, okay, ma'am. That is what I want to ask. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. That will be all from my side, sir.
Yeah. So so thank you very much to everyone, and best wishes to our aspirants who are going to appear for the interview. And we look forward to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.